I bet your dad was a popular bloke.
Well, yes, he was. I suppose we should stick to family, really, but there's Ken. He was a good friend, and me, and you, and Nick, and me man, and David. He apologises.
You bought his house and you won't let him in it?
Because he was rude and insensitive.
Have you met David? It's his default setting.
Hello and welcome to episode 141 of the Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that's seen some mismatches in its day. Manchester United versus Ipswich, Australia versus Namibia, an Olympic-sized swimming pool versus Eric the Eel Musambani. But surely the idea of Daisy thinking she can take on Carla takes a biscuit. I'm Gavin.
And I'm tired of snow.
Oh, I've had enough snow and
I'm done.
We've barely started with it.
I'm just done. It's almost spring.
It's not. It's the middle of February.
Right. Spring starts next month.
It doesn't start next month.
So it's well.
We've lived here for long enough to know that there can be snow on the ground in April.
The spring equinox begins next month. All right. All right. Do I have to be that pedantic about it?
Well, it's not really pedantry to point out that there's snow on the ground in April.
Sometimes. Not always.
Mostly.
No. It's happened like twice.
You normally get a fall late March, early April, just to kill plants that are thinking about blooming. I also spent all of January in Florida, so yeah. So you really have
kinda,
no place to talk to when everyone else in the house has had more than a month more than you have of it.
Yes, but I think that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of fed up with it. It's like, I remember being in a much nicer place weather-wise, even though it's been cold in the south this year as well. They had a snow and ice storm in Texas. Did you see that huge pile up?
No, I did not.
There was like a FedEx truck that just could not stop and ran into the back of a stopped 18-wheeler truck and flipped over and burst into flames.
Well, it's not express for nothing.
I had to go very quickly and check and make sure that I didn't have anything going to Texas via FedEx this week, and I did not, which is a relief. But yeah, it's an odd year. It's an odd year for weather because we really didn't have much snow until end of January. We didn't really have much snow that stuck. Typically,
here,
yeah. Typically, we get
the ground was white all the way through January. You weren't here.
Typically, it gets all white. Like,
do you remember driving to the airport?
Yes, that was like
driving through that blizzard on January the 3rd.
Yeah, but didn't it all melt?
Not really.
Oh, because when I first got back, I remember, at least in the Detroit area, they didn't have much snow, and then it wasn't until we got home that there was snow on the ground.
That was the weirdest thing, because there was snow when I was driving to the airport, and then driving back from the airport. It was like, where did all this snow go? I just put it down to being it's night, so we can't see it. But. Yeah,
but typically we'll get snow in like November or December, and then we just don't see the ground again until March, late March, early April. So it is kind of been. It's weird that our big snow didn't arrive until January.
Mm-hmm. It's currently snowing.
Yes. Yes. So 2021, just as good as 2020.
If not better, because we're all older.
And wiser.
Yeah.
Anyway, how was your week?
It was my week. I find it very hard to tell anymore.
Yeah.
Weeks are just...
They kind of meld into one another.
Yeah. Nothing very much knocking me out of my routine other than finally getting to finish the flight attendant.
Oh, yes. Yes, we finished the flight attendant.
That was more just, we've started it, we need to power through at the end here.
I think I liked it more than you did.
I didn't really enjoy it. It was all right.
It's not the worst thing that's nominated for a Golden Globe
That's
that I've
been nominated
watched.
for an award from anything. What the series is getting an award, or
Well, it's nominated for best comedy series, I believe.
wasn't really funny enough for that.
And Kaylee Cuoco is nominated for best actress.
Oh, good God!
In a comedy, I believe, or it may be for short series. It's all kind of melding together. I'm currently watching that Irish short series, Normal People, and I'm finding it very tedious.
As far as a flight attendant is concerned, Goldie Hawn is rolling in her grave.
She's not dead.
Well,
She just played Mrs. Santa Claus in a Netflix Christmas film.
rolling in her grave. Shall we preamble, my dear? Oh, I'm not ready. Hold on, because I'm still in SpongeBob. There we go.
Oops. Now you see how the sausage is made, folks. Oh, I had a mammogram this week. That's like the only real change in my routine. I finished quarantine and I went and got my boobs squished. My boobs were not happy to have been put in a bra and then put in a machine.
Big day for the boobs.
Big day for the boobs.
Now, give us some of that mama recording news, I guess.
You were all set to make a pun about the flight attendant, weren't you? Until I said something about my boobs.
It did throw me off, I will happily admit.
Wouldn't be the first time my boobs have thrown you off.
I had to resort to a plan B. B for boobs, as it turns out. Thank goodness we didn't get to plan C.
No, I had to postpone that appointment.
Fucking news.
Exit left, chased by a bear.
Oh, from The Winter's Tale.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Bev Collard has announced she will not be
Oh,
coming
Winter's
back
Tale.
for an official ending storyline for Liz. She has said she has shut the door forever on Coronation Street. She's packed up her hair teasing comb and her leopard print pants, her tiger print pants. And
The animals of the Serengeti are heaving a collective sigh of relief.
apparently she's been getting quite a few offers after I'm a Celebrity, so good for her.
She did well on Celebrity. She was
Yeah.
a character.
Yeah. So, and
As was her husband, who wasn't there.
I kind of don't blame her. I mean, it's been so long.
It's been too long. Yeah.
Why go back just to leave again? Mm-hmm. Especially with COVID still being a thing and that horrible UK strain, which seems to be more contagious and more deadly than the original. Yay. The first case of that in our county here in Michigan was reported last week. Did you see that?
I didn't.
No.
Spend so little time watching news. If it's not on Seth Meyers or Stephen Colbert, I don't know about it.
See, I don't watch it. I didn't get it from watching the news. I got it from scrolling through and the Barry Eaton County Health District
Anyway.
posting about it. Anyway.
So yeah, she's been off for months
Right.
in Spain, apparently.
Right.
Flying out on a 1980s airline. She's not going to come back.
Just to leave
say,
again.
oh, by the way, that's me leaving now.
Right.
It's kind of weird. So yeah, I don't really blame her. It's a shame that she's not going to get an exit.
Yeah.
She's not going to get a
'Cause she
moment in the back of
deserves
a
it.
taxi.
Right.
But not like that.
Right. Oh,
That's a shame.
I'm sure she's had many of those moments. But, you know,
That's probably for the best.
Steve did mention Liz this week.
And one
in
breath.
passing.
Right.
So what they'll probably do is, Mom has decided she's going to stay in Spain forever. Good for Mom.
This could be we never mention her again.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Where's Andy? Andy's in Spain,
Andy's
right?
in Spain, yeah.
She's with Andy.
She's with Andy, yes. And we never see Andy anymore either, so...
Yeah, it's still weird when he walks onto the set in classic Corey from 97. It was good this week. Things exploded.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your GIF.
It's a nice little punctuation of it's afternoon in the UK, but it airs like 10 o'clock in the morning here. It's no bad way to start your day. There's a couple episodes of classic Corey. That's funny.
Siblings in the time of COVID. For their scenes this week that required them to film in close quarters, Michael Lavelle and Sue Devaney had COVID tests done, which both came back negative beforehand. I would have thought that they would have been required to quarantine together for 2 weeks as well. And I would have thought that there would have been more to it than just getting a COVID test done, because I would hope the cast is getting tested regularly anyway.
I saw that, and I never thought anything of it until I saw that article. And then part of me was like, oh, it's fine because they're brother and sister. Nope.
No, they're not. Not really.
Well, the scales have been scraped from my eyes now.
Apparently it was quite hot in that fridge as well. And poor Michael has all those layers on and everything. Apparently both of them were sweating down their backs the whole time.
Because it's just a blue light.
Right.
It's not a real fridge.
Right. So being in enclosed quarters made it warmer, and then the lights made it warmer.
Sure.
So the magic of television.
Absolutely. I love things like that. They changed the light as well from a blue to a purple at some point.
Right.
And I think that must mean that it just got hotter, I guess. I don't know.
Right, yeah. It reminded me of another thing I watched only because it's nominated for a Golden Globe, which is Ratchet, because a number of times, inexplicably, when a mood changes, the lights will go completely blue or purple in those scenes. Apparently it's, I don't know.
Apparently it's memorable.
Yeah. Apparently it's supposed to be artsy. Anyway. I didn't really enjoy Ratchet. But anyway. Finally, you would have hated it. Finally.
I'm sure I would.
The cast came home to the cobbles to resume filming this week, with the Instagram shots from Tanisha Gorey and Ali Mulvaney to prove it. As promised, there will be no slowdown of episodes for us to watch. So we'll still have 6 episodes a week going forward. So
they only stopped filming for 2 weeks, so
right.
You can easily absorb that.
Yeah. And they were managed to rewrite some things and move things around and make sure everything was up to health and safety standards now that there's this new scary strain rampaging the streets of the UK.
Yeah, could be the end of the world yet.
Yes. Fingers crossed. And that's Corey News.
That's Corey News. Our mailbag. Scott wrote in to say, hi folks, just finished listening to your podcast and your love for Evelyn, which I of course share. Shared a rant about people going into the shop with rollers in their hair, and Helen said this doesn't happen anymore. It's true that Hilda and her colours under her headscarf aren't a thing, but here in Liverpool, and probably in Manchester, girls can often be seen about town with their rollers in. Wander through the city centre on a Saturday and you'll see a lot of girls like this as they do their shopping and chores while getting their hair nicely shaped for their night out. Here's an article about the phenomenon with pictures as evidence, and he links to an article in ID Vice called Photographing the Women of Liverpool and Their Hair Rollers. It is a thing. And it looks so weird.
Yeah, nobody does that over here anymore.
No.
I don't think anybody even really has rollers anymore. It's kind of a vintage thing to do, put your hair in rollers.
That article is just filled with images that look like they're from a Manic Street Preachers album cover.
Yeah.
The pyjamas thing, though, that's just laziness, and I disapprove, says Scott.
Yeah, that happens here all the time. There have been times when the kids were still going to school in an actual school building that I would just throw on a robe and my slippers to drive them up
Yes, driving them
in the
that's
weather,
different,
but I was never getting out of the car like that.
No.
And I think I may have gone through the Bigby drive-through afterwards, just like that, just to get a coffee. But again, I'm not leaving the car.
Mm-hmm. I seem to have inadvertently triggered a Canadian Talk of the Street Civil War. Ace of Wands left a review.
Right.
Talk of the Street is by far the best Coricast on the pod waves. It begins.
Oh, how nice is that?
Helen's unabashedly progressive / feminist perspective is so appreciated, especially when other podcasts seem to romanticize toxic characters and relationships in the show.
Oh,
Her boos are truly the boos of reason, and this Canadian millennial is booing right along with her. Gavin is routinely hilarious. Not that anyone's noticed. And I frequently rewind episodes just so I can laugh at his jokes a second, heck, even a third time. Overall, the podcast is just so fun, wholesome and refreshing, and the hosts are total #coupled goals.
Aww.
Thanks for getting me through the pandemic, guys. Y'all cheer me up.
Was it Christy? Was that Christy?
It was Ace of Wands.
Oh, so that's not Christy.
Well.
It might be Christy. She defended me on the Twitter. Christy did.
Yeah.
With a moose gif.
Go off your high moose.
Yes.
That was hilarious.
I was trying to remember what movie that was from. That gif.
Oh, it was open season, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I think it was I think it was Brother Bear, actually. And Rick Moranis.
Helen is now mimicking a moose with her hands as antlers.
Rick Moranis played one of the mooses.
Mice.
Moose. Mises.
And now this. Welcome.
I'm still really verklempt over that review.
Yeah, it was lovely.
That was so lovely.
Thanks, Ace of Wands.
Whoever you may be.
Wink. Just enough time to quickly talk about Night Off for a Bath. I don't remember this one either, which is always a good sign. This was Abby unhappy with Seb for inviting Alina Pop to move in with him and Emma. What are you going to do? Take turns about and then have a night off for a bath?
Right.
That was a line. I was Gavin and you were full of yummy goodness.
I'm always full of yummy goodness, y'all.
This was our post-Valentine's Day meal.
Yeah. We had it at the English Inn.
English Inn.
Yes.
At 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
It was. What's hilarious is Benny, like 2 days ago, he's like, so you guys got to go to the English Inn for Valentine's Day.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. It's like, no, sweetheart, there's a pandemic on. I don't know if you've noticed. But it's, I guess, because that's kind of our go-to. They do have those bubbles.
I was about to say they have bubbles outside. I don't know if I want to have a meal in a bubble.
Apparently, the bubbles have gotten good reviews.
I've heard good things about the bubbles.
I've heard good things about the bubbles. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Came for the wine,
that they're
stayed for the bubbles.
That they are very socially distanced. That it's not like some of these places that just have like a tarp over their entrance and then like a whole bunch of seating. Like the genuinely socially distanced bubbles. And they're heated.
Right. We're still not going.
No.
In a storyline so long that Norris McWhirter and Roy Castle might rise from the grave to measure it, Detective Bethany and Daniel put their heads together to bring down Ray Weinstein, but it's Abby who really delivers justice, not that anyone notices. And nor did they really bring justice.
No.
David finally realises what we all knew a few weeks ago. This shipping Max to Marion's idea makes no sense and only takes a suicidal skip to make him come to this conclusion. Maria's suspicions of Gary push her into the arms and the pants of another until it's revealed that Gary's intentions were honourable. I vaguely remember that.
Who was she kind of pushed towards?
Ali's pants.
Oh, that's right. Man, I miss Ali.
So do I.
He was a good character. Sometimes. And a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's getting work.
I would have thought we'd have mentioned that in Corey News if you had.
All right. Well, I haven't heard anything. But he was in that wrestling movie, briefly.
It wasn't the Joker.
Was he in the Joker? He wasn't in the Joker, was he?
No.
No.
You had the Joker here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I used to give him a hard time for that.
Mm-hmm.
For the Joker hair. Good times.
Gavin is frequently hilarious. The show really hates to reward Emma's kind heart or let her be happy by dropping Alina back in the street with a shiny new job at the knicker factory in Liam's old room. Nina's table decorations are adorable. They're still a thing. I'm quite happy about that. With her little spoons
Her
that
little
say,
spoons
talk
that
to
say,
me.
yeah. Or leave me alone.
Yep. Fuck off. Or sit yourself down. Ken might be on the move if Claudia doesn't kill him first. Ed is cool as a cucumber when he learns that his old friend Danny is gay. Hope is very excited to see Jade again, and Ruby has a strict no drugs policy. Moment of the week was going to be Abby walking away from the exploding car, but we bucked the trend and gave it to Brian and Kathy singing Lady Marmalade in the Rovers instead. Because that was their Valentine's Day.
Aw.
And boring moment of the week was Alia not getting coffee at work, and that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street this time last year.
Good.
Shall we dive in?
Yes, please.
My dear.
Yes, please.
Our first storyline today is Home Under the Hammer. On Monday, David's on phone in Roy's Rolls trying to organise a mortgage, but despite having a whopping £70,000 deposit,
Right, yeah. Yeah, Mr. I have no money.
it seems that the sinkhole is scaring the banks off, which you can understand. If you can't find the rest of the money, it looks like Tracy Barlow's going to get her mitts on number 8, and Shona bites her lip in that way she does when she's contemplating doing something rash. Mm-hmm. Later, the two of them get stuck into Steve, who's fresh out of a taxi back on the street. He knows nothing about any of this until Tracy comes along, calling number 8 perfect for them. And the McDonald's go off arguing. Shona thinks this might mean that they won't end up bidding, but David rightly points out that there are other people in the world who might, and they still don't have the money to buy it. Back at number 1, Tracy is calling this a move in the right direction on the property ladder. She's living in a hovel, she says, deciding that the house that she was ready to buy last year has lost its lustre
I'll bet she's grown
now
up
that
in.
Ken has moved back in.
Right, yeah. All it takes is your dad to make it a hovel, I guess.
Yeah. Does he? He's reasonably tidy, isn't he?
I would think so.
David is back at Roy's Rolls and listens to Audrey talk about her 3-week Caribbean cruise that she has planned with the money that she made from selling the flat.
Which is not going to happen.
Well, we come to that.
Nobody's going on cruises right now. All the cruise lines are still shut down. I don't know why Coronation Street the writers there seem to think that these old ladies can go on cruises again, because you can't. There are no cruises. They're shut down.
It's fiction.
But still,
It's
it's fiction
cruise.
in the time of COVID. Couldn't she be going on a nice trip to Italy or something? Why does it have to be a Caribbean cruise?
So Shona can talk her out of it.
Yeah, but she could talk her out of other things. Why does it have to be? This is the second time a cruise has been mentioned on the show during COVID. It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway.
She's going on a cruise with the money that she made from selling the salon flat. She and David haven't heard from Gail since she got to that London. David lies and says that he's working on getting the money together to buy the house. And when she leaves, Shona, who's at work at the minute, tells him that Audrey might be the answer to their problem, but David is dead against it.
Right.
Presumably David is left looking after Roy's Rolls, while Shona chases after Audrey and brazenly just comes out and asks her for the money. Audrey points out the history that she has with David and Nick and her money and how badly she was hurt before. Shona suggests that Audrey just moves on. All families fall out, and it's better to spend money on a house than on a cruise that'll end up getting cancelled because of COVID. So it was addressed.
Yeah.
Plus, Audrey probably buys Saga magazine, which is just full from cover to cover with adverts for cruises, and probably some less reputable cruise companies who would still take your money off you.
Right.
Steve and Tracy are peering through the windows of number 8.
Are there any reputable cruise lines?
I don't know.
I don't think any of them are reputable, are they?
Caribbean Princess. That's the only one that I know. And Fred Olsen. Is it Fred Olsen? I've been on a Fred Olsen ship. That was in the Canaries. Going to La Gomera, one of the smaller Canary islands where they talk to each other in whistles.
Ah. Interesting.
Bleh.
Yeah. Nobody on any of those islands won any manky Americans or British people coming to their islands and spreading the coronavirus.
Yeah.
They say, no, thank you.
Being loud, waving money, and
GTF.
picking up ornaments from people's houses thinking that they're in a souvenir shop.
It's amazing to me that New Zealand allowed Neil Gaiman back in.
I thought he lived there.
Well, he left because he and Amanda Palmer were on the skids. He left the safest place in the world to get away from his wife. And everybody thought they were heading towards a divorce, but apparently they've reconciled because he's back in New Zealand.
Okay.
During a pandemic.
Did you watch the Britney documentary?
Yes, I did. I loved it. Even though it felt a little thin. I was hoping for more context that, this was happening to other young women as well. This whole paparazzi thing and everything. And their fathers weren't trying to take them over and everything.
I see that Justin Timberlake's apologised.
Yeah. Too little too late, Justin. Too little too late.
Is it?
Take your curly ramen-headed hair out of here.
Is a late apology worse than no apology?
And he didn't write that apology. I'm sorry. His team wrote that apology for him. And apologizes.
If you had a team writing an apology, I think you get more than 2 pages out of it.
His
2 pages of notes.
His apology and it's an apology to Brittany and to Janet. And which, both of them deserve more than an apology because he...
What did he do to Janet Jackson?
You don't remember that Super Bowl where he ripped her costume off and Nipplegate happened?
Or did she not know that was going to happen?
She knew he was going to rip it off. She didn't expect her nipple to be exposed. And then afterwards, he kind of threw her under the bus and blamed her for it.
Oh, dear.
And it messed up her career because everybody was slut-shaming her for it when...
Imagine that ruining your career because you've got nipples.
He was also complicit in it. So... Anyway. Yes, Justin Timberlake, still an asshole. We are not accepting this apology. Years too late. Many years too late. He's only apologizing because you brought it up.
And I thought we were done. Steve and Tracy appearing... Did I say that? Steve and Tracy appearing through the windows, number 8. Steve has agreed to join the bidding. Shona comes along, and despite Steve saying that he wouldn't bid against her and David, Shona and Tracy have a bit of a ding-dong with each other. Tracy pointing out that there's no blue plaque on the wall saying, "Here lived David Platt," and Shona pointing out that Tracy is a selfish cow. Shona doesn't care who gets number 8, as long as it's not her. Mm-hmm. Back at the factory, Nick and David are getting logged on to the auction site, but David is sick with worry. Meanwhile, Shona is outside and finds a very plot-friendly engineer working on a phone exchange box on the street. At number 1, Steve wants a strategy, but Tracy has other plans. Think fast, stay focused, she'll take care of the bidding. And he lets her. Then Audrey, who doesn't work at the factory, turns up at the factory. She's prepared to give David the money after all.
Yes.
Now move your short arse and get logged in before Tracy gets her hand on her crown jewels. But not like that. And number 1, Tracy is dismayed when a second bidder logs in, and she's fucking shell-shocked when the Wi-Fi goes down. Steve gets all manly and goes and shakes her router up in his ear. Tracy demands that he installs a satellite.
What is he expecting?
It's a tiny little router or router. I think my mouth just says router now.
Yeah.
But they're saying router, which sounds funny.
Yeah, because when you say router, I think of Roto-Rooter.
A rutabaga. But yeah, it's a tiny little...
Right. Well, ours
is
very
a
big.
fucking behemoth, the size of that thing. And they want to upgrade it to a bigger one for $25 extra a month.
Yeah,
and unlimited
but we
data.
Get and it helps. It's got like built-in security.
Well, the one that we've got's got built-in security.
No, I think they ended their contract with. We could talk about this later. Anyway,
if your podcast has ever been derailed by descriptions of a router.
Yes. Nobody on the street seems to understand how online auctions work or how Wi-Fi works. This was the most frustrating couple of scenes for me. It was just...
It kind of resolves itself, but for a minute you're like, wait a minute.
No, all the way through it's like, wait a minute. Because what happens next?
Well, she needs a signal. Start. And outside, a very smug Shona is walking down the street with a shovel on her shoulder. Your Wi-Fi's down. What a pity. But it's a case of the left hand not knowing what the right hand's doing, because David's Wi-Fi is obviously down too, and Shona didn't know that Audrey had stumped up the cash for the house, so they're both going to lose it. Oopsie, says Shona, who bites her lip in that way she does when she's fucked up.
She really likes using the shovel.
Yeah. So now everyone is struggling to remember how to set up their phones as a temporary hotspot.
Why?
David is bamboozled.
Why?
I can't remember the last time I did it.
Why? Well, I do it all the time. But why do they need to do that? If they have phones that have internet, they have smartphones. Just log into the auction site on your phones and bid on your phones. You can do that. You can access the internet on your smartphone. You don't need to use the laptop.
They don't want to use their own data, though.
The internet.
Because that's what the Wi-Fi is for.
But if the Wi-Fi is down and you really want... but they're going to be using their own data anyway because they're using their phones as a hotspot.
That's true.
Yeah. So none of this makes any fucking sense. They have... The writers on this show have no idea how Wi-Fi works. Or computers work.
I think
or
they do.
Smartphones work.
I think they're not really that bothered about it. And plus it gives us an excuse to get Amy into a scene.
Right. And it gives us an excuse to mock aging Gen Xers who seem to not know how to use computers and Wi-Fi and internet, even though all of that stuff was invented while we were children.
David is bamboozled by the password requirements because it wants a letter, a number, and a special character. Steve has enlisted a bored Amy who will only help if she gets first dibs in the bedroom, which Steve has to concede. So the two sides get logged in and suddenly everyone is an expert on the finer points of auction bidding.
Only they're not.
Tracy is convinced that she's up against rat-faced David, who refuses to listen when Amy and Steve point out that it could be anyone. Who else would want to buy a house with a fucking sinkhole, says Tracy. Good point, says Amy.
And the way that the online auction is set up is... Because
Timbot 4000 says this does not compute.
Thank you. Yeah, Steve says, they're Steve and Nick are both saying to them, it goes up in $500 increments, so you don't have to bid more than just the $500 increments. But they do. They bid like over the $500 increment, but the auction site doesn't show the $500 increments. It shows their highest bid, which it shouldn't be doing. It should be showing the $500 increments.
I don't think they're doing it in 500, and every time you're saying dollar, you mean pounds.
I do mean pounds. But this is how online auctions work. It doesn't show when you put in your highest bid, if somebody else hasn't bid.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't show your highest bid. It shows up to the increments.
I've won things on eBay before. I know how it works. Right.
So how is this not working that way?
Because that's the problem with this.
Well, the Wi-Fi is the problem.
Anyway.
Isn't it hilarious that all these Gen X parents need to get their Gen Z kids to show them how to set up a hotspot? It's hilarious.
It was quite funny.
Was it? Was it really?
Yeah.
Or was it a cliche and unnecessary?
No, I thought it was funny. Plus, it gets Amy into a scene. I don't know why you hate Amy so much.
I love Amy.
So the bidding goes back and forth, closer and closer to David's ceiling of $135,000. The Platts are united. Tracy basically on her own bidding for her dream house against that shrimp-faced platworm.
Even though it's not really her dream house.
No. And poor David. She's describing him not in very generous terms.
Yeah, but it's hilarious. What did she call him?
A shrimp-faced platworm and rat-faced earlier.
Yeah, I love the shrimp
Jack
face.
P. Shepherd must be reading that going, wait a fucking minute.
The shrimp-faced platworm was my favourite, I think.
They're at 135 when Nick agrees to throw in a grand. Ooh, thanks, Nick. But Tracy goes to bid 137. Steve cuts her off. They're already 7 above his limit. And 3 minutes to go, and it looks like the Platts have it at 136 when a 137 bid comes in. The Platts are out. Tracy reckons that she's won when a bid of 138 comes in, and Steve switches off the hotspot. This stops now. Outside the factory, Tracy and David both think the other one has won.
So this is why. This is why they did the hotspot thing, so that Steve can turn it off.
Tracy fuming that Shona tried to sabotage the whole thing. Debbie comes clopping along and looks like she's about to do a 180 and walk away from them when Tracy and David descend on her looking for answers, but she hasn't an idea who's won either. It's still with the auctioneers. She lies. Defeated, the Platts retreat to the Rovers, but then David gets a text from Nick. There's a light on at number 8. It must be the new owners. And Shona quietly agrees with the audience that this was way too quick, and off they go to find out who it is. David rings the bell, expecting it to be a property developer. Slum landlord, more like, says Tracy, who now hates the house. But it's neither. It's Gail. And it takes David a painfully long time to realise that Gail isn't actually trespassing and that she's the one who's bought the house with a bereavement dividend from Ted, and instead seems keen to rudely blame her for them not being able to buy the house. Seems there's been a miscommunication and David's not been answering his phone. She didn't know that Audrey had stumped up the cash, so it's left to Gail to save the day. David thinks that they can move back in, but Gail wants an apology first. Jog on, says David. In that case, you can fuck off back to the Dogs and Guns estate, and she slams the door on them.
Right. She'll take the kids, though. She's totally in the right here. David has been so awful to her the past couple weeks.
Timbot 4000 says shit just got interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, she's totally in the right.
She's totally in the right.
He's been an absolute twat to her.
Right. Her father just died, and
didn't
he's
care.
been a shit.
On Wednesday,
Poor
Gail...
Ted is dead.
Poor dead Ted.
Poor dead Ted.
On Wednesday, Gail is meeting at number 8 with the Undertaker. Ted wanted buried locally, apparently.
Not an Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
Trademark. The Undertaker reckons that Gay Ted was a popular man. Aye. And Gail starts building the guest list. She's named people in the room twice, and Nick, when Sarah suggests David. But Gail still isn't speaking to her son because he was rude and insensitive to her. Have you met David? Asks Sarah. That's his default setting.
Right, but that's still no excuse. I hate it when people say that. Oh, that's just the way he's like. Yeah, well, maybe the way he's like
He's a
is
monster.
unacceptable.
Right. Have a word. Gail and Audrey are at the tram station, back from a trip into town buying funeral clothes. David comes along and insinuates that Gail's been spending dead Ted's money and is generally just a ghastly shit to his mum. He doesn't care much about the funeral, doesn't want to have tea at number 8 or talk to Gail. She's gazumped him. What kind of person does that? A shitty one, he says. She didn't gazump him.
No.
She outbid him.
Right.
But she didn't gazump him.
Right, and she didn't know she didn't do it on purpose. She was trying to help.
Again, another plot that could just be avoided by people speaking to each other, though, isn't it?
It's also kind of unrealistic that even with that sinkhole in the back, there were only 3 bidders.
Yeah, 2 of them represent the same
Family.
interest.
Yeah.
Back at the house, Gail is suddenly aware that she's alone in a big house and there's a sinkhole in the backyard. Audrey thinks that maybe Gail should just bite the bullet and apologise to David.
For what?
But Gail looks like she's prepared to stand her ground on this. She's already held out the olive branch. It's up to him now.
That's right.
I kind of seem to remember Gail trying to encourage Audrey to accept apologies from David and Nick.
Right.
With all the money and the Lorraine Kelly
yeah.
stuff.
She did.
So ever the peacemaker, Audrey meets up with David at speed dial and tries to coax him into apologising and moving back in, but he doesn't want to be Gail's lodger, and he thinks that she's on a power trip and it'll be a nightmare if he moves back. Which, yeah. Audrey wonders what dead Gay Ted would make of all this palaver, and this seems to give David some thought. So David and Shona go and see Gail and he apologises. Gail doesn't believe him, so Shona produces a tin of dog food and tells David to prove how sorry he is by eating it. David doesn't think this is going to prove anything, but Gail, well, she could be convinced.
And it was hilarious because she's like, well, David likes it.
Right. Yeah, but David also likes to lick his own nuts.
Both of them.
David makes the mistake of sniffing the food, and it gives him the book. And he makes a big enough deal about going to eat it that Gail puts an end to this and tells him to get his stuff from that dodgy estate. You're back in. You ever eaten dog food?
I have not. I knew a boy in my youth who was like David Bowie, had one brown eye and one blue eye.
Yeah. I also knew a boy like that.
And
I wonder if it was the same boy.
No. And he ate dog food, but he ate dry dog food. He didn't eat wet dog food.
I've eaten wet dog food.
Have you eaten wet dog food? Why?
The trick is not to smell it. You smell it. It tastes nothing like it smells. It's very much like Lafroig in that manner. It tastes of nothing. It just tastes of water. But it smells of... smells of ass. That's how it smells. But if you just pinch your nose and power through, you can...
It's like I don't even know you.
I didn't eat the whole tin. Had a couple of bites though. Because I tried to prove that I was enjoying it. So I had 2 forkfuls.
What kind of dog food was it?
It was pedigree chum. It was chicken flavoured apparently. It didn't taste like chicken. I would be very surprised if the chicken flavour tastes any differently to the actual ass flavoured pedigree chum that they have. As they're moving in, during a quieter moment, David apologises properly for all the nasty things that he said, and Gail apologises for springing her news about the house and Ted on him. Then David makes the mistake of mentioning how nice it is to have some money left after selling the place. He has plans to take the kids on holiday. Gail thinks this is a great idea once he's fixed the fucking sinkhole and done some DIY. After all, he's living under her roof rent-free, and there is no bazinga.
Yeah.
She means it. And I think rightfully so, after all the years of, well, this is my house, Gail.
Right,
If you don't like it, you can fuck off.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
She's getting her own back a little bit.
Yes. And she's not wrong. He's living there practically rent-free. So he can do he can fix a few things. He can fix the stupid fucking sinkhole, even though that should be the government's job.
Or the council.
Right. Which is kind of like government.
Local government,
Yeah.
When did this happen? This was months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's surprising that house is not already in the sinkhole.
I'd quite enjoyed this. This was a kind of fun,
Yeah.
light-hearted storyline.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the faces Jack P. Shepherd is making. Right, you know, with the dog food.
Yeah,
Like, he pulls some great faces there.
He addressed something that I don't think... I wonder if this was in the script. And I wonder if this was something that he just made up on the spot. Mm-hmm. He has a history of making things up on the spot, apparently.
Right, yeah.
He made a tweet about that whole... Well, it's just... What does it say? I can't even...
it's just...
it's just...
Yeah, he does that all the
He
time. He
did
did that this week.
It does that all the time. He questions where Shona got the dog food, or whether she's just wandering around with dog food in her pocket. I appreciated the fact that they addressed that.
Right, yeah.
Wait a minute, why is Shona just walking about with dog food? I know she's weird. Although they've toned that down a little bit.
She got it for David the dog.
Which makes perfect sense.
He doesn't like the food that they can buy on the estate. Mm-hmm. So she buys it here and then carries it home. Yeah, she brings
lovely.
the fancy stuff home for David.
So we've kind of just reset, haven't we? There's an unseen shift in the power in the house where Gail owns a house now and it isn't David. But basically we're just going to get all the Platts, all 5 million of them, back into number 8, and it's going to be business as usual.
Well, Sarah won't be there. Sarah's living with Adam now.
Right.
So it's one fewer person. And Audrey doesn't live there. Where does Audrey live?
She's got her own house.
Oh, that's right. Because they fixed the damp that was...
Or something that she had.
Yeah.
Remember last week when we moved from a happy story onto Johnny in jail?
Uh-huh.
Our next storyline today is Johnny on the inside.
Oh.
And there was a lot of it this week. On Monday, Johnny has made a friend. Someone we later find out is called Joe. Joe wants to talk to Johnny about screws, slipping on beans and the like, but Johnny is winding himself up about seeing cockroaches that aren't really there. Joe suggests a game of pool or a coffee, but Johnny has had enough, and furiously he goes off to complain to the concierge of the prison about the living standards.
Even though there's a prison guard sitting right there.
Just lets this happen.
Just sitting right there. This happens like all throughout these scenes, and I don't remember seeing a guard in the room ever before.
They're constantly in the room now.
Yeah, they're constantly in the rooms. And
I don't think I've ever seen prison being depicted less like a prison. Because all they do is hang out and play pool in that room. They don't ever seem to be in their cells. Anyway, Later, Johnny hasn't had much luck. Gary can't see any cockroaches either, but before we can get to the bottom of this, a guard announces that it's lockdown. There's been an incident. An incident turns out to be Joe, the guy who wanted pool and coffee. He's been found dead in his cell.
Oh no!
Johnny blames him for ignoring his cry for help. Gary says it wasn't Johnny's fault, and it wasn't.
No.
But thanks to another storyline, the rover's Wi-Fi is down, and Ryan is bending over trying to fix it.
Right.
Daisy asks...
That was not a bad scene.
A contender for moment of the week right there.
I apologize for not realizing how nice of an ass Ryan has.
Daisy asks if he's turned it on and off, then asks if he's turned her on and off, which doesn't really make sense, and he treats the comment with the contempt it deserved. Jenny, it seems, is waiting on a call from Johnny. She explains this to Maria in the bar, who gets a call from Gary on her mobile. Joe's taken an overdose and died in his cell. Who the fuck's Joe? Jenny wants to appeal. Given the Aiden thing and Johnny's mental health, she needs to get him right out of there. In jail, somehow Gary has found out that the overdose was accidental. It wasn't deliberate. So,
or he tells Johnny that.
So it definitely wasn't Johnny's fault. But Johnny's barely listening because he sees a guy in a suit in the corner of the room. Gary's weirded out and leaves, and the guard has had enough of Johnny's shite. Back to your cell, you. And later, Daisy is moaning to Ryan about the lack of top-quality cock round about here. No wonder Jenny's lumbered with cheating jailbird Johnny. And of course, Jenny overhears this and isn't happy. Daisy apologises. She claims to be worried that Jenny is going to get hurt by all this. And Jenny is touched that Daisy's worried, but tells her to keep her fucking opinions about Johnny to herself from now on.
Seriously.
On Wednesday, Jenny is prepping Carla to complain about the mice when she goes to visit Johnny. They're not caged animals, says Jenny, so we're to assume she's talking about the prisoners. She has plenty of messages to pass on, which made me wonder why she doesn't go and visit instead.
Because they probably can only have one visitor a day.
Which seems to be true when that's convenient. And when it's not convenient, people are backwards and forwards and are constantly on the phone.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because, because it's prison, but also because it's COVID. Prison. They only have like a strict amount of visiting hours per day. So this is Carla's day. Maybe tomorrow will be Jenny's day.
It isn't. She's particularly worried that since Joe died, Johnny's thoughts are going to be on Aiden. In jail, Gary has asked around and no one else has seen mice or cockroaches. Johnny isn't paying attention though. He's in an imagined reverie about Joe and his mum, speculating that she talks about him all the time to her friends and that Joe has hundreds of mates and that he was the life and soul of the party. Joe was?
No, I don't think so.
This guy Joe?
Because wasn't Joe kind of in trouble with some of the other... Like in the brief conversation they have where Joe is doing Johnny's chores for him. And they talk about this like openly right in front of this guard that the Johnny's assignments are being taken care of by Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And they say something also about some of the other prisoners not liking Joe for some reason.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I just remember him talking about somebody slipping.
On beans.
And beans, one of the screws.
Yeah.
Gary feels awkward at Johnny being so fucking weird and leaves, just as Johnny starts seeing something in the corner that he describes as not being right.
Mm-hmm.
And later, a jittery Johnny is meeting Carla, trying to insist that everything's fine. But Carla's not buying it. Fess up, she says, and he admits that he thinks that his eyes are playing tricks on him with the mice and the cockroaches. He's seeing all sorts. Like what? Asks Carla, who thinks that he should speak to a doctor. Johnny admits that he saw Aiden, and that's how he knows what he's seen isn't real. Carla thinks if this is psychosis and he needs help, but Johnny feels normal apart from the visions. She points out that she ended up in a fire escape with her psychosis. He says that isn't going to happen to him because he's in jail and he doesn't have the necessary access to a fire escape. And Jenny can't know about this. He promises to talk to the doctor if she'll keep stum.
Right.
Fair enough. Carla goes to see Roy and he remembers when Carla was like this and how she begged him not to tell anyone, but he did anyway and she hated him for it. Carla apologises retrospectively. That was quite a sweet scene. Mm-hmm. But it's still worried about telling Jenny. Roy thinks it's up to Johnny to tell his wife, and in the short term, she can make Jenny feel better by lying. And Carla's surprised that Roy would take a dishonest stance about this. On Friday, in prison, Johnny tells everyone that he can see a cat. No one is interested in hearing about what animals Johnny can see, especially when he reveals that he knows that it's not real. Gary, who might get bail today but doesn't, tells Johnny to get himself seen to. Back at the pub, Daisy claims to have cleaned the bar and puts herself in a mood by asking if Jenny is visiting Johnny today, but apparently not. It seems that he has a key worker visit or something. Daisy offers to help considering that she's part of the family, and this sets Jenny off to arrange a special get-to-know Daisy dinner for tonight, and she plans to invite Carla, which causes Daisy to do the 2-second smile fade of the week. Daisy says that she's going to cook. Can you cook? Well, I haven't poisoned anyone. Yeah, don't poison Carla.
That's not...
Women can't cook thing again.
Well, Daisy,
I suppose. Johnny is on the phone with Carla, angry that she grassed him up to the guards. Now he's getting referred to a psychiatrist and his cellmate thinks that he's a lunatic. Carla tells him again to tell Jenny, but he doesn't want to worry her. Carla says that he keeps doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Something that she attributes to someone much more clever than her. Do you know who said that?
it was Albert Einstein.
No, it wasn't.
Oh no, it was no, it was Albert Einstein, wasn't it?
Nope.
That a sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Wasn't that Einstein?
Nope.
Was it Freud?
Nope.
Who was it then?
Here's the interesting thing. The earliest recording of that is from a 1983 Rita Mae Brown mystery novel, Sudden Death. It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. The Voltaire quote. What's the Voltaire quote again?
I don't know, but it's not the whole sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
That wasn't him.
No.
And that wasn't Einstein. The internet says it was Einstein, but it wasn't. And apparently...
Did you really look this up?
Mm-hmm. And apparently Marie Antoinette didn't say...
Let them eat cake. Yeah,
she
I knew
didn't
that.
say that either.
Yeah, I knew that.
And the Churchill quote about in your 20s, you're less conservative and all that sort of thing. Uh-huh. He didn't say that either.
Yeah. And that Alan Rickman supposed quote about how when he...
I don't think he was on the list.
When he grows old, you know, he'll still be reading the Harry Potter books and his grandchildren will say, "Again, Granddad," and he will say, "Always." Yeah, he never said that either. There's a lot of things that famous people are supposed to have said and didn't. Yeah. But I'm really surprised because I thought for sure that was Einstein who said.
Yeah, there's no evidence that he did.
That's interesting.
And the character who says it in the novel can't remember where she heard it from. But that was the first...
Have you read any Rita Mae Brown?
I have not.
Yeah. She's good. She writes mysteries with cats in them. She's a lesbian.
The cat or...
Rita Mae Brown.
Oh, there's a joke in there somewhere, isn't there?
Yes, but not one that even we can say on the air. Meow.
Meanwhile, Johnny promises to tell Jenny himself and asks Carla not to. Meanwhile, Jenny, who doesn't work at the factory, is in the factory chatting to Sarah, of all people.
I know, why is Jenny there? She has nobody. She has Carla.
She's looking for Carla, but all Sarah knows is that she's away calling Johnny about something. Jenny tries to argue this out, seeing as Carla visited Johnny yesterday, so why would she need to talk to him again today? Look, says Sarah, I don't fucking know. You asked me a question, it's not my fucking fault you don't like the answer. Maybe go speak with Carla if you're so sure that I misunderstood them.
Right. Plus, stop asking me questions about the woman who slept with my husband.
Right, which they do cover.
Right.
Outside the Rovers, Jenny accosts Carla about this.
I don't understand Jenny's logic, though. You saw him yesterday, so why would you call him today? Mm-hmm. I call my dad every day. But that's because he had a heart attack and he's still in rehab. But yeah, I call him every day to make sure he's all right and taking his medicine.
Is he? Well, he says he is.
That one time, supposedly, he hadn't gotten his meds for 2 days, and that's when he sent that text. But apparently he's getting them now.
Carla admits it and tells Jenny that Johnny had promised to tell her himself what it's about, and she promised Johnny that she wouldn't say. Jenny demands to be told, but Carla sticks to her guns, which results in Carla not receiving an invite to Daisy's get-to-know-you dinner.
Oh, Carla is heartbroken.
She is. She begs. No, she doesn't. Later, Johnny is good to his word and is explaining his visions to Jenny over the phone. Mice, cockroaches, a cat, person, woman, man,
chair,
camera, TV. Oh, and Aidan. She checks that he knows that Aidan is dead. He only ever sees him from behind. Johnny tells her that he has an appointment with a psychiatrist. In the meantime, he's taken some comfort from seeing the back of Aidan's head. Back at the pub, Jenny...
And his cufflinks. What were on his cufflinks? Aidan's. He has these distinctive cufflinks that have something on them. And I can't remember what they were.
Person. Man. Back at the pub, Jenny explains to Daisy that the dinner's off because Carla has been speaking to Johnny secretly. Daisy offers to go punch Carla in the face.
Yeah, like that's going to happen.
Carla would rip Daisy's throat out and eat it in front of her, and there's a large part of me that hopes that this happens very soon. Jenny, though, is too upset that Johnny is seeing things and remembering 5 objects that he could probably see in front of him and is an indicator of something, just not the indicator that he thinks it is. Mm-hmm. In prison, Johnny is still of the opinion that it's a good idea to tell all his fellow prisoners what visions he's seeing. His cellmate thinks that he's a Fruit Loop when Johnny gets angry that he's been disturbed and can't see the back of Aidan's head anymore. That's
his cellmate, who I don't think is wearing any underwear.
Would it surprise you to know that I didn't notice that?
He's constantly got his hands in his sweatpants.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought maybe had a...
It's like...
You can count the change in his pocket, so to speak.
Dodgy looking guy, though.
Yeah, it's a strange prison, isn't it? It's a strange prison setup. And I guess it has to be because of restrictions and whatever. But
right.
It seems that they've dropped Johnny and on the Red Hand gang have been arrested. It's like just... He's the old guy in Oliver Twist.
Right.
There's one other old guy in a non-speaking role that kind of sits in the corner sometimes, but mostly it's just Johnny and the youth.
Right.
And Gary.
Who hasn't been tried yet.
No, he's still in remand.
He's still in remand, and yet he's with the regular prisoners.
Which I think is what happens. That
Crazy.
60 days in thing is...
Right.
That's what happens. It's an interesting
so
show.
he's being held
with a general population.
Right. Without having been tried. Mm-hmm. So innocent until proven guilty there.
I'm sure Amnesty International are working on it as we speak.
I used to belong to Amnesty International.
Like a slave to them or what?
No, I was...
Because that would be news.
Because there was an Amnesty International club at my high school, and I belonged to it.
I also belonged to an Amnesty International club.
In high school?
I think because it was because of Simple Minds. Because Simple Minds had the Amnesty International, the candle wrapped in the barbed wire.
Yeah.
Had that.
Right. Yeah. We shared the library with the Young Republicans.
I went to one meeting.
I went to more than one.
We didn't talk about anything really to do with Amnesty International. We talked about Simple Minds quite a bit.
No, we talked about stuff having to do with Amnesty International.
Did Simple Minds come up?
No. My favorite teacher, Mr. Cunningham, was the advisor for it, so I quite liked Mr. Cunningham.
Question asked. Question answered.
We're still Facebook friends. Him and his him and his husband live somewhere. They were living in DC. I think at least one of them works for...
Don't dox your teacher.
A diplomat or something.
There we go. That'll do. How are you enjoying the Johnny in jail storyline?
Like I said, I don't know what the universe is saying to me that so many things that I'm watching on the television have to do with fathers and daughters.
See, I think that it always did. It's just that because of what's happening, you notice them a little bit more. I find the same thing. When my papa had a heart attack, all of a sudden, everyone on the TV's having a heart attack. You just you become more attuned to it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think the universe has particularly got it in for you as far as your TV shows are concerned.
Yeah.
But you do become more aware of that.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit depressing.
It makes more sense than the whole Wi-Fi thing going down. Although I still don't understand why Jenny was not able to call the prison with the Wi-Fi being down.
Oh, it's like our phone. Our phone's through our internet.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a proper landline.
No, it doesn't plug into the landline wall, but still, I mean...
Let's not go back to that storyline again.
We're
moving forward.
He's got her cell phone number. She has a cell phone. Why would he be calling the landline, so to speak? That makes no sense. As Rosie Perez's son in The Flight Attendant said so aptly in the last episode, the only people who call the landline are telemarketers.
Yeah, we never answer
bill
the landline.
collectors.
I think we have approximately 40 messages on that.
Yeah.
But nobody ever listens.
The eye doctor, for some reason, called that number to tell me my glasses were ready.
I've said it before, that phone rings, people in the living room stare at it until it stops, and then just move on with their day. Talking of moving on with their day, our next storyline today is Lucky White Feather.
I just can't with this anymore. I really can't. I'm so fed up with this. They're making Leanne less and less like Leanne by the day, and I'm so tired. I'm so very tired.
It's the I get the whole grief thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the past couple of weeks it seems to have made a bit more sense, you know, that you don't want to see anybody and you just kind of...
Right, she needs help sleeping and stuff. All of that makes sense.
But it takes a bit of a turn this week.
Yes.
A very sudden turn.
Yes.
A turn that if you weren't wearing your seatbelt, you'd be going flying through a window.
A cookie turn.
On Monday, Leanne's phone is ringing. It's Nick, but she doesn't answer it, and it seems that Simon's pissed off with Nick for being consumed with Sam at the minute. Leanne is fine with this, though. Nick sends her a text asking to meet for lunch, and Leanne wants to go, but only if Simon goes with her. She finally thinks that she's up to it, and she makes it. Simon gets an urgent text from Jacob with another job, but Simon more or less dismisses it. And then Nick arrives and he's brought Sam, and Leanne pretends that she's happy with this development. Mm-hmm. His school had to close because of the state of the toilets or something. And the meeting is pretty awkward, mostly because Leanne's put on a brave face. Nick is constantly looking like he's on the verge of tears as he explains about Natasha staying on in that London for a little bit longer. He offers to help with bills, but Leanne says that they're doing fine.
Which they're not.
No. Afterwards, Simon is concerned that Leanne didn't tell Nick about packing her job in, but she promises to tell him later. She sees Steve outside number 8 in another storyline and they catch up. Steve explaining about Tracy wanting to buy the place and it's a good idea. Moving on, assumes Leanne? No, keeping Tracy happy, Steve insists. And Leanne and Simon descend on the community garden so Leanne can stare miserably at a bare branch on Oliver's apple tree. Back home, Leanne bemoans...
It's not there. There's a bud.
Was there?
Yes.
Back home, Leanne bemoans that Steve can move on so easily, even though he hasn't. But Simon tells her that she did well today, and these things take time. And then she secretly makes arrangements with that Jacob guy. Mm-hmm. On Friday, and this is where it takes a little bit of a turn, Leanne has woken up in a great mood because she found a white feather last night before bedtime, and she's decided it's a sign from Oliver that he's in heaven, and so she was able to sleep without her pills. Simon suggests that maybe it's just a feather.
That it came out of her pillow.
Mm-hmm. But Leanne won't hear it, and so Simon lets it go. And later, Leanne seems to be ordering something on her phone with her credit card, and she hides the phone and the card when Simon comes in looking for his phone, which is in the fruit bowl. When he leaves, she's back on the phone, and she's got the card out again. And what she's done is phone a TV medium called Crystal Weber. It had to be Crystal something, didn't it? Who of course agrees with Leanne that the feather is a sign from Oliver. It proves that he loves her. Do call again, says Crystal, who thinks that this interaction represented value for money.
What are we, in the 1980s?
1980s. Do we have TV mediums still?
We don't have TV mediums anymore.
Because they're
all online.
Con men.
No, because they're all online. You don't... They don't have TV shows anymore. It's all online. And all of our famous ones are dead.
Who was the one that South Park called the biggest douche in the universe? John something.
Oh, I can't remember his name. I don't think he's dead, but I think he's in prison.
Is he? In prison for telling the truth. John Edwards?
Something like that.
Something like that. That's a very funny South Park.
Yeah, this is not a thing anymore. Maybe it's a thing. Do you think it's a thing in the UK?
No, I don't think so.
No. Like, it's literally on television.
But thanks for making us Scottish. This Crystal Weber, if that is your real name.
Because all Mystic people would either be Scottish or Irish.
Who was the medium that they had in when it was Nigel Havers? I was hoping that Nigel Havers was going to come back from the grave. Remember the medium that Roy went to disprove with his Motorhead cap on, and he tackled Nigel Havers to the ground and all that.
Oh, that's
Remember
right.
That
Right, that
ago.
lady. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at least that was like in person.
Right.
That still happens, I believe. Well,
Yeah,
not
that still
anymore because of COVID, but because that's what that douchebag used to do. He used to get people in a room and stuff and
Cold read them.
right. Yeah. Only not really. They were plants in the audience.
Which happens in another storyline this week as well. About cold reading going on. But I'm not
Reading of boxes of frozen fish.
No. But, well, yes, so that's another one. No, I don't appreciate that we're now going down this road of Leanne being so detached from herself and from her own grief that she's looking at a medium to provide her
Right.
comfort.
Right. How do we go from white feather to calling a medium?
It's a leap. It is a leap.
I mean, the white feather, as it was quite the leap. A white feather's supposed to mean that you're a traitor and don't want to join the army.
Is it?
Yeah, 'cause during the wars, young men who were conscientious objectors would get white feathers in the mail because they're chickens
I'm as
and cowards.
I'm as guilty of this as anyone. But anytime you hear someone tell the story of when they went to the crematorium to say goodbye to their loved one, with a sad sniff, they look out the window and there's a rabbit
Right.
or something that
Right.
runs across the lawn
Yeah.
at the precise moment that the loved one is going through the curtains for the last time.
Uh-huh.
And I've done it.
Right.
And
We all
I've
do
said
it. We all do it. I still do it.
Can't remember if I actually saw it. I don't know if the crematorium employs someone to hide round the corner with a rabbit just to let it go at a particular moment. But you see things like that at that particular time and you associate with the person that you've lost.
Right.
I don't think I've ever done that with a feather.
No. Or your immediate response afterwards was not, I'm going to call a medium now.
Right.
And try to talk to my dead loved one. You take it as a sign of comfort. Like
Or that your pillow's leaking.
Right. The day before I left for Florida, we got an unexpected package from my dad that had some beer steins and a dolphin plate on it. And I, posted a picture on Facebook and I said that, the dolphin plate seemed to me kind of a sign that everything was going to be okay because dolphins are a sign of, life and everything.
Are they?
However, the day after my dad had the heart attack, remember when I went on my drive? I just like, I have to get out of the house and I just kind of drove around the country. Like practically every field I drove by had a flock of sandhill cranes in it. As you know, cranes are a sign of death.
Yes, they are.
And after the third field, I literally said out loud, oh, come on. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Cut this shit out with all this fucking symbolism.
But no, nature was in a symbolic mood that day.
Yeah, because you don't tend to see them this time of year.
But again, if you did, you wouldn't think anything of it.
Right. And then on the way home, I was following a hearse.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Which is like, okay, let's really hit me over the head with this symbolism, please.
And then when you got home, I was cutting the grass with a scythe.
And you were wearing your black robe.
I was. I was feeling very skeletal that day. Our next storyline today.
It was snowing that day, too. Now that I
course
think
it was.
about it.
Right. It's winter.
New Year's Day.
Alina popped off on Wednesday.
Instead of popping out, she pops up.
I am now
Off.
concerned.
That they're going to try to do something here.
And I wasn't concerned before because it was just a nice, fun storyline. But the way this is going,
I don't like it.
It's starting to make me concerned.
Yeah, and I don't like it.
I really don't want this to happen.
No, I don't think anybody does. Except for the writers.
Tyrone is enjoying an empty cup of tea when Fizz comes downstairs complaining that Hope won't let her do her hair because she doesn't do it as well as Alina did. Tyrone takes this to heart a bit, assuming that he's been blamed for expelling Alina from the house when all he did was arrange for her to move back to her old place. Fizz wonders exactly why her head's just been bitten off. And later, Alina returns her key to Tyrone at the garage and they chat about Hope's hair and how the girls are missing her. And she appreciates this because she had an interview for a job that she thought had gone well and then she got a rejection 10 minutes later. Tyrone tries to put a positive spin on it. The position was probably already filled, he says, but Alina reckons that maybe she's just very rubbish. Ty thinks that she should stick to what she knows, like nails and stuff, and Alina takes offence at this and stomps off. So Fizz comes round to see Ty at the garage and he explains about Alina taking the hump. Thinking about it, Fizz has no idea why Alina wouldn't appreciate the reminder of being trafficked. Mm-hmm. Oh, pig's tits, says Ty. And Fizz tells him that he has an apology to make.
Yeah, that was...
And this is the point that I'm becoming concerned.
That was very well done, Fizz saying.
Why on earth would she be...
Yeah, because as it was coming out of his mouth, I was thinking, oh, come on, Tyrone. Really?
But it proves that he doesn't know her.
Yeah. And he's not really thinking.
No, because he doesn't know her.
No.
Which is why was she in the house in the first place. Fizz brings Alina home and she tells Ty that an apology isn't needed and she really did enjoy doing nails back home. So Ty mentions that she should set herself up in salon even helps her look for a college course on going into business for herself.
Yes, because that's all it'll take is one college course in business to set up a salon.
Right.
Yeah, because Fizz
I did notice that Fizz went off for a bath.
Yes, Fizz goes off for a bath. And Tyrone mentions that Fizz did one course in antiques before taking the job with Gary.
Well, that's a 3-hour course maybe.
Apparently she needed a course in antiques to work for Gary.
At the furniture thing.
Right. She probably did that on her own. She's like, oh, I'm going to take this course on antiques so I can be an expert.
She watched 4 episodes of Lovejoy back to back. That's what she did.
And the repair shop.
On Friday at Tyrone's, they're out of bacon and
shop.
sausage. Yeah, everyone thinks it's just like the nicest TV that... And a time that needs nice TV.
Yeah,
it's just really
it
nice
really
TV.
is comforting to just sit and watch like a ton of episodes of that over and over again.
Mm-hmm. They're out of bacon and sausage. Fizz thinks this might be for the best, but Ty is set in his ways for brekkie like an old man. Fizz thinks that he's lovely and also predictable and proves it by listing all of his itinerary for the day. Seemingly, he takes a shit at noon. What an animal. Ty seems a little put out that his partner and his gran can predict his every moment and not just the one that he has at noon.
That was hilarious. And I love the fact that, Fizz and Evelyn are together and taking the piss out of him and laughing with one another.
Evelyn is enjoying this an awful lot.
Yes, she is.
And at 2 o'clock and at 3 o'clock. And then what happens at 4 o'clock? Later, Alina's heading into the factory when she thanks Tyrone for his brilliant idea because she's enrolled at some doing folks' nails for fun and profit thing at college. Then along comes Fizz, garbling something unintelligible about something at school that she needs to attend, and she ropes Tyrone into looking after the furniture thing while she's gone, even though he's fixing cars and they're supposedly busy. At the furniture thing, Tyrone is struggling getting a carpet into the furniture thing when Alina comes along to offer her help and buy him a coffee for some reason afterwards. As this is going on, a suspicious man in a suspicious van looks like he may have a suspicious plan.
Well done.
Oh, that unintentionally rhymes. Later,
unintentionally, he says.
Of course it's intentional. Later, Alina has treated her and Tyrone to empty Costa cups when they spot the suspicious man loading his suspicious van. Tyrone accuses him of thievery, but the guy uses cold reading techniques on Ty and announces that he had an arrangement with a woman who worked there, which Ty understands to be Fizz, and he and Alina end up helping the guy load up his van. She's very strong, says Ty. That was quite funny.
That was very funny. Isn't it, Why didn't he lock that place up when they went to go get coffee?
Why did it take two of them to go and get coffee?
Why didn't he lock the place up? He's like left that door wide open for the suspicious man. He could have just pulled that suspicious van right into the building.
Was it the same guy you think that robbed Chesney's stall at the market?
No.
That'd be nice if it was, actually.
I think it is the same guy who broke into the back of the van and stole the report. Dum dum dum.
When Fizz gets back, it's late and she notices that they've shifted a lot of stuff. And when Ty explains what happened, it obviously sounded better in his head. Like, why did it take two of them to go for a coffee? Predictably, they've been ripped off, and Gary is going to fucking kill them.
From prison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she can patch things up before Gary gets out of prison.
Right.
It'll be fine.
The main thrust of this, is it Tyrone and Alina spending more time together this week than they have done in the entirety previously? Or is the main thing here getting ripped off? Or is it both?
I'm hoping it's the ripped off thing, because that just seems more interesting to me than Tyrone and Alina having an affair, which
they're making a big deal of this, though. They're making a big deal of Tyrone getting the blame, or sensing that he got the blame for Alina moving out.
How does this guy even know to? I mean, has he been? How long has that guy with the van been sitting outside there waiting for an opportunity to go and steal?
It just seemed to be happening along.
Gross rugs.
Right. They're making a big deal about Ty, and they're making a big deal about Ty being a creature of habit. They're making a big deal about Ty saying that he's going to surprise them. They're making a big deal about Ty turning 40. They're pushing this Alina thing, and I want them to stop.
Yeah, nobody wants this. Nobody asked for this.
It was fine the other week when it was just for laughs.
Funny, yeah.
Because it was funny.
It was funny, it was cute, and it was over. And then we move on to other stuff. No, we have to make it awful.
Yeah. Talking of Tyrone, though.
One of the few...
I have the Tyrone shirt that will be getting sent to Manchester this week. Michigan State. And I kind of, what would you call that? A Love It Blue?
It's green.
Or a Heather Green. Yeah, Love It Blue's green.
I Love It Blue is green?
Mm-hmm.
No. That's...
It's a kind of...
It's green and white Heather. Because it's a...
Michigan State.
Yeah. Heather's a purple, isn't it?
I don't know. It's a very light...
Yeah, it's a light green.
Shade of green.
It's nice, and it's kind of...
It's a Tyrone colour, I think.
And it's kind of retro-y, which I think would suit him, you know, the style and everything. What was the shirt this week? It was... I
don't think it had
a California. It was someplace in California. Because I remember noticing it. It was... no, it's just Tribeca? Was it Tribeca?
Tribeca was Wednesday, I think.
Yeah. The film festival.
I guess. Or just loft apartments in the triangle below Canal. I don't know. Our penultimate storyline today, Billy's Juice. Excuse me.
You said juice, right?
Yeah.
Not juice.
Not juice.
Okay.
Billy's Juice. On Friday, Billy's got a package.
But not like that.
He's wearing very, very, very tight trousers.
His skinny jeans.
You can't count the change in his back pocket.
Again, you know.
50 pence.
Again. Fan service with a nice ass shot.
It's a juicer for Valentine's Day from Paul. Summer doesn't get the problem, but for Billy, this is the worst thing to happen to him in the world. It makes him sad. And Summer points out that Paul is a thoughtful man who just made the kind of mistake that she or Billy could have made themselves.
Right. Billy, who made the mistake of becoming addicted to painkillers. And also killed someone accidentally and then ran off.
At the factory, Paul is chatting to Todd when he gets a call from Billy wanting to meet up later for 5 minutes, and Todd watches and listens on carefully. Then Billy, who doesn't work at the factory, turns up at the factory with a juicer, calling it inappropriate. It's an inappropriate juicer. Paul points out that he ordered it before he got dumped. And Paul says Billy loves the juice, so he might as well keep it as a breakup present.
Right, yeah, because Paul can't be bothered with juice.
No.
Paul is not on the juice.
No, it's definitely, out of the two of them, it was Billy who loved the juice.
Yes.
Paul, not so much.
Right.
Billy accepts on the proviso that Paul accepts that they've split up. So it's agreed. The idea of Billy juicing whenever he likes brings Paul some joy. And all through this, Todd is watching on like a villain on the side of the stage in a Shakespearean play.
Right. Hiding behind a rack of clothing.
Right.
Not being chased by a bear.
No. Paul's in the Rovers and Ed is about to join him when Billy and his man bag and Todd come in together and Paul rushes out, and that's as far as we get with that this week. So Todd and Billy,
I hope not.
they're going to the pub now together. Ugh,
Please
I
don't.
hate this.
Still, it was
That's
nice to see Ed
Yeah,
in a very brief
cameo role.
cameo role.
It was I don't know. It was if I needed more reasons to dislike Billy, this week gave me one.
Well, you don't like it, the way his ass looks in skinny jeans.
I don't like the problem that he had with the present.
Right.
I don't like how he assumed that the present was bought post breakup.
Right. And as an ulterior,
Right.
that there was an ulterior motive to it.
Get over yourself, Billy.
Right. Seriously.
You might have an ass to die for, but that, but it's not everything. Well, thankfully that was all we got.
I hope he doesn't preach in those things.
As he's juicing.
Work.
Our final storyline today is Ray Weinstein. On Monday, Abby turns up to Debbie's office, curious why Debbie gives more than two fucks about this auction thing that's going on in another storyline, and wondering why she isn't behaving like someone who's just murdered her business partner. Debbie tries to convince Abby how genuine she is, telling her that last night she was sat in her car outside the cop shop, contemplating turning herself in. Or maybe it would make Abby happy if Debbie had a full mental breakdown. Abby takes this in and falls for it. And Debbie calls Ray Weinstein at his bedsit. He's not happy that they got back less than he paid for number 8. She tells him to cool his jets and he'll be sunning himself in Turkey soon enough. She hangs up and in comes Miles, who has news that the passport will be ready tomorrow and wondering if Ray is looking forward to Turkey. The only place Ray Weinstein is going, says Debbie, is the fucking jail. On Wednesday.
Why she trusts Miles.
No. Because Miles has never been her
Right.
fixer.
Right. He's
always been Ray's fixer.
Right. And she's gone this long without telling him. Why would she just tell him now?
I don't know.
Because plot.
Well, sure. On Wednesday, Kev's up and about, but Abby, who apparently didn't sleep well, is already ready and off for breakfast and isn't keen to wait for him. She blames it on her doodads. So Abby goes to see Debbie and floats the idea, telling Kev. No chance, says Debbie. She hasn't robbed a pick and mix here. She's killed someone and they must keep it quiet. Then David is at the garage complaining about his mum to Kev and Abby when Abby spots gay Mick snooping around the bistro. Mick asks after Ray and who he describes as the owner of the place, but Kev, much to the chagrin of Abby, puts him right, telling him that Ray is AWOL and Debbie Webster is in charge now, his sister. Much obliged, says gay Mick, and he wanders off. Back home, Abby tries to call Debbie to warn her about a homosexual gangster, and Kev is suspicious as to why she suddenly gives a solitary fuck about his sister after everything that happened. Abby thinks Debbie needs looking after, and she owes her. Forced to give Kev something, she admits that Debbie saved her life when she was drugged. Kev doesn't think this amounts to very much considering she did a runner after calling 999. If Gay Mick wants to know where Ray is, Debbie can deal with it. And at this, Abby admits that Ray is dead and it were Debbie what killed him and dumped his body in the river.
Which, coming out of her mouth, she should have realised how
This sounds ridiculous.
ridiculous that sounds.
And Kev, to his credit, doesn't seem to believe it. Debbie is no one's guardian angel, and now what Abby could get done as an accessory to murder. So he goes to see his sister at the bistro and tells her that he knows, and she panics, claiming self-defence. She's not a murderer. He wonders why she never went to the police and how she managed to lob him in the river. Hasn't this worked out nicely for her, getting Ray out of the way? She's got all this money now. And she claims to be broken, but he doesn't know... She claims to be broken, but he doesn't know how she sunk this low. He demands that she goes to the police. She'll have nothing to worry about if it was self-defence, and if she won't do it, he flippin' well will. She plays a family card, but he didn't think that counted for very much a week or two ago when she was bulldozing the street. Again, he remarks that she's landed on her feet with the bistro and stuff, but she mentions debt, and that Ray isn't the shit-hot businessman people think that he is. Kev seems to notice the present tense, but he lets it slide. He just wants Abby out of all this. Then we need to keep it a secret, says Debbie. So Kev goes home and still isn't swallowing any of it. It's all a bit too convenient. He thinks that she's lying, and he thinks that Ray is alive and well, and Abby's like, what? He explains the present tense thing and how Debbie waited to hear what she was being accused of before responding.
Right, yeah, because she seemed to, initially think that maybe he was talking about the whole her getting Ray out of the country thing. Because she seems a little relieved when he says something about Ray being dead. Like, oh, all right, yeah, I can cover this up.
When Abby is unmoved, Kev decides to fuck this for a game of soldiers and goes off to finish an MOT. During this, though, he sees Debbie drive off and he's about to give pursuit when Abby steps in front of the car. Kev is pissed that they'll never find out where she was going, but Abby convinces him to opt for the quiet life and leave this sleeping bear unpoked.
Mm-hmm. See? There's a bear on the chase this week, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Don't poke it.
Yeah, don't poke gay Mick. Unless he asks you to.
Billy's juice. It's a shame because she goes to see Ray. He's not worried about Kev, but is very worried about Mick the Marigold, who he owes $100,000 to. I quite like Mick the Marigold. Because he just cleans up the mess.
Yeah.
But $100,000? That man has $100,000, or has done $100,000's worth of cleaning up for Ray. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of cleaning up.
That is a lot of cleaning up.
And Mick doesn't look like he has that kind of resource available to him.
I don't know. I mean, let's not forget all the mess Todd was in with him. But that was only for like what?
A week?
Like $7,000.
Oh God,
something.
it was. It was a pitiful amount of money,
right.
wasn't it?
Eileen
well,
was like,
in the grand
I
scheme
can
of
pay
things.
that off for you.
Yeah.
What the hell, Todd? Yeah. So it's quite a leap from like $7,000 to $100,000. But then again, Ray has lots and lots of hotels apparently. So
Yeah, there's probably another gay Mick somewhere else that he owes the same amount to.
right.
Ray needs to get the fuck out of the country. Debbie will deliver his passport and the money from number 8 just as soon as he signs over his companies. They don't trust each other, but Debbie has the upper hand, so they agree to exchange tomorrow. Back at the bistro, Debbie has dragged Miles out to tell him to get the paperwork sorted today. It's green for go. Ray's going to sign it all over, and then Miles can get his cut once Ray gets what's coming to him. And separately, Miles has also heard of this mix work and thinks Debbie would do well to stay clear.
Yes.
Everyone's scared.
Of Mick.
Later, Miles drops in on Ray, scared of Mick, who is scared of Eileen. Does that mean that Eileen is the scariest person?
Yes.
Okay. Later, Miles drops in on Ray with the transfer forms. Ray thinks he's been pussy whipped by Debbie. After all these years, Ray's going to miss Miles. They had some fun together, being inappropriate with each other. Ray, not with each other. Ray's about to sign the forms when Miles grasses Debbie up. There is no turkey. Debbie is going to shop you. Ray knew that he should never have trusted her. Now he's going to make her wish that she'd never met him. And I'm pretty sure that that's already the case.
Mm-hmm. It's so frustrating, though. Because Debbie was this close. And then she just had to say something to Miles.
All she had to do is keep her mouth shut.
Right, seriously.
Miles doesn't need to know anything.
No. No, why does she think she could trust this guy?
Remind me to question Miles's intent when we get to the end of this.
Right.
On Friday, Kev's packing up in the car to drop Jack off at a camping trip or something convenient. Abby is interested in pitching a tent at home when the kid's away. But Kev is more interested...
Exactly like that.
Exactly like that. But Kev is more interested in what's going on at the bistro, which is closed for repairs. I wonder how many days of business the bistro's done since 2 years ago when Ray took it over. It's not 2 years, it's 2 New Years ago.
Right, yeah, because it's Valentine's Day weekend and they're not open. They're closed for repairs because apparently somebody came in and...
Vandalised it?
We don't really get to see that.
Or understand why or who did it.
Right.
Are we supposed to think it was gay Mick?
Yes.
Okay. He didn't do an awful lot of damage, and Debbie's office is pretty much untouched.
Right. Yeah. It's just in the actual restaurant part.
Things need swept up.
Some windows need to be repaired.
Yeah.
Repaired, not repaired.
Well, one of them definitely needed repaired. So, along comes Sally to announce that Faye's up in court on a GBH charge, all thanks to Ray fucking Crosby. The sooner he gets what's coming to him, the better. Later, Abby has dropped Jack off because Kev's at home in a mood, worried that Debbie is lying. Abby, on behalf of the audience, worries that we've already been down this road and Kev promised to let it go. But Kev has got his special casting up shit body warmer on, and he cast up all this down to Abby torturing Ray's car last year, and when she promises that she's not lying to him, he casts up her lying about drugs and Peter. He doesn't know the truth from his arsehole these days, and Ray is consuming their lives. Abby promises that she's telling him everything that she knows. Debbie saved her life, and Ray won't be hurting anybody else anytime soon. He worries what this will mean for Faye. It's a mess, he says. Meanwhile, Miles is at the bistro, where there's a lot of repair work going on. Everything is going to Debbie's plan. Ray has the paperwork to sign, Miles has been paid, she has a passport, and later the coppers will apprehend Ray at the flat. I expected her to say something foreshadowing at this point, but she didn't. So let's imagine that she tells Miles that he could buy a lot of ice with his 30 grand. He leaves just as Abby comes in, suggesting maybe it were gay Mick what vandalised the place, or maybe Will if she finds a shit in the fridge. Which didn't happen. Also, Kev's panicking, and she's worried that he's going to wuss out and tell the pigs, get your brother on side. Then Tim in a cap and Sally are back from court. Faye has got released on bail, but Gary's still on remand, and unseen, Faye runs up the stairs of Discovery. Kev thinks this is great news. It's not over, and Faye might still get the jail. Sally knows that Faye shouldn't have twatted Adam, but Ray Weinstein sexually assaulted her, so surely there's mitigating circumstances. Debbie comes clopping over and offers her financial backing to fund Faye's legal representation. It's the least that she can do as part of tidying up after that monster. Kev is suspicious, but Tim and Sally think this is brilliant. Kev goes to air his concerns to Abby at the garage, and when she's Team Debbie again, he wonders if Abby is getting a cut. Abby tells him he's crossing a line, which surprises him, seeing as Debbie is the one who killed someone 3 times her size and dumped him in the river.
Right.
Fuck this, he says. I need to get away from all this, so I'm going to spend a night in the woods with Jack. And
sure.
So he leaves her alone in the garage because Tyrone's off in the furniture thing in another storyline.
Right.
Abby drops in on Debbie at the bistro and they bitch about Kev for a bit. Abby telling Debbie that he's gone into the woods for the night and she'll keep an eye on him when he gets back. Things will be better after today, says Debbie, who announces that she has a meeting to attend. Abby leaves and a gruff Ray Weinstein-shaped man in workman gear and mask comes in looking for something signed when slap my legs and call me Roger. It's Ray Weinstein in disguise.
What?
He's stolen a workman's... Or has he knocked a workman out and stolen
his hat and his hard hat and his fluorescent jacket? And amazingly, he found one as tall as him.
It would have been great if it was far too short. It's halfway up his arms. And the hat doesn't fit, it just sits on top of his head.
And it's just lucky that we're still in COVID because, you know, he has an excuse to wear a mask half over his face.
But he puts on a voice that's different from all right, which sounds like all right. Anyway. I got some paperwork for you to sign. Jangle, jangle. She ushers him into the kitchen. She thinks that he likes the danger.
Which is what you said. That's what you said months ago.
Oh, he likes the danger?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how he gets his jollies.
Right, yeah. So well done, you.
That's either it or he just likes dressing up. He has the paperwork which he slides over to her. He even has a pen. Everything appears to be in order, so Debbie gives him his passport and plane ticket. Grant Robinson is his new name. It's been a pleasure, says Debbie, but hopefully I won't see you again until hell freezes over. Ray, though, hasn't got quite everything that he wanted yet, and he reveals that he knows that she planned to double-cross him. She didn't pay Miles enough because she's just so cheap. That's been her problem.
Right, yeah, 30 grand wasn't enough. Oh, so sorry.
But it was agreed.
Yeah.
Good luck tipping off the cops now, he says. So he throws her into the walk-in fridge, breaks off the handle on the inside, and is about to lock her in when Bear Grylls Kev comes round the corner and twats Ray over the head with a spade that he got from somewhere.
I thought it was a frying pan.
Was it? Oh, maybe it was. That would make
far more sense.
Nobody's digging anything in the bistro.
He stole
Not
it off
today.
of Shona. Shona's shovel.
Do you know what? I swear to God, I saw a spade. Stupidly, Kev goes in to help Debbie, but Ray must recover really quickly and he locks a pair of them in the walk-in fridge. He shouts on them to chill out and then leaves. Tonight's forecast, a freeze is coming. With the bistro closed for repairs and workmen not scheduled to arrive until next week, Kev figures out they'll be dead before anyone comes looking for them, and so they settle down amongst boxes of haddock, bass and swordfish, the remnants of Robert's essence and Will's shit.
And wait for Batman to come.
There you go. In my head, that was a pretty good Arnold impersonation.
It was all right. I think everybody knew what you were impersonating. Anyone who's seen that movie.
Not that many people.
It's got quite a cult following for all of the S&M in it. All the leather and whips and...
I couldn't remember the exact quote, so I went on IMDb and I was looking up quotes from Batman and Robin. In fact, you can see the tab still open. Batman and Robin 1980 or 93, is that it? I can't.
1997.
There are so many really, really shit quotes from that movie.
Oh God, yeah, it's
all of them said by Arnie.
It's crazy. The podcast Feminist Frequency Radio did a really good episode of, pulling that movie apart and reviewing it. Also,
I don't think I've actually seen it.
Really?
I took against it because Schwarzenegger got the top villain on the poster, and I thought, you can't have the villain being the top biller.
It's Arnie.
In it's a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Batman's bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, but at the time, George Clooney wasn't bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was George Clooney, wasn't it? With the with the nipples. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember the nipples.
Clooney has to be the top villain in a Batman movie if he's Batman.
Yeah, again, he wasn't as big as Arnie.
Doesn't matter, he's playing Batman.
He's still not as big as Arnie. I mean, he's beloved, the George Clooney.
Anyway.
And his wife.
And his nipples. Miles is outside waiting for Ray in his very swish VW Arteon to rush Ray to the airport. Miles has got all of Ray's stuff but couldn't find his watch. And we get a bit Pulp Fiction here again as Ray announces that it was his father's watch that Christopher Walken kept up his arse for reasons never fully explained. They're going to have to go back to the flat to get it, where no doubt Ray will walk in on PC Tinker doing a shit in the toilet, reading the cartoons in the paper.
The whole I have to go back for my father's watch.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
It's Pulp Fiction. At the flat, the watch that Miles couldn't find is in plain sight on the dresser. Ray grabs it and then his phone rings just as the police storm the flat and arrest him for bribery. In the fridge, Kev is catching up on Ray not being dead and Debbie lying about being a murderer. She wanted to punish Ray and get justice herself. Kev thinks it was always about the money for Debbie, and money isn't going to help them get out of this situation.
Not about the money. Money.
Meanwhile, Abby is at Sally's, worried that they can't get hold of Kev after all the rowing they've been doing recently. Sally tells her that Kev will be cool like the Fonzie, and not to worry about it. Ray, if only. Ray is being interviewed by the police, telling him that Debbie Webster was the brains of the operation and he knows nothing about nothing, particularly nothing about offering Phoebe Buffet a bribe. And Ray is confident that once Miles gets here, he'll be walking out a free man. Here's hoping that they haven't found his passport and plane ticket in a different name.
Right. And also, they have video proof that it was him, mm-hmm. which he's seen.
I have a suspicion that Miles is in Turkey now with all the money.
Right.
And the passport. And
right.
He's just trying to look like Ray at passport control or whatever. But I think Miles has double crossed them both.
Yeah. Yeah. Miles is gone. It's a very Scottish thing to do.
Oi, but true. I presume it was Miles that phoned him
Yeah, because he says, Miles, why are you calling me?
just to delay him.
No. I think it's Debbie, because Debbie had this planned, remember?
Debbie is in a walk-in fridge and can't be phoning
but
nobody.
remember, she had already had this.
No, I think Miles has tipped off the police
It's quite possible.
and then done a runner.
I had just assumed that Debbie and the police were already, that this was a plan already in place, that she was going to
No,
give him
it needed
the Judas kiss.
precise timing
Yeah.
that I don't think they were capable of. Anyway,
Back
in the fridge, Kev tells Debbie that Abby thinks that he's camping
in the fridge.
and won't miss him until tomorrow, so they're here at least overnight because no one's going to be looking for them. They snuggle up amongst the food and make plans to be there for a while. It's 2021, says Debbie. People don't die in fridges, they just hide from journalists in them. We'll dig at our Boris there for that. She asks how long people can survive in an airtight fridge. Kev doesn't know, but thinks they're about to find out.
Yes.
And that's how we end this week's episodes.
People do still die in fridges. Or behind them.
Or under them.
Right. Wasn't there a story about they were renovating, I think it was in California, they were renovating a restaurant and they pulled out the old fridge and there was like a body behind it.
Oofed. That explains the smell.
Some guy who, nobody had seen for years had fallen behind it and nobody went looking for him and nobody knew he was there.
Wow.
So these things still happen.
Imagine having so little effect on anybody that you can be dead behind a fridge and nobody really notices that you're gone. That's really sad.
Right, yeah. That is pretty sad.
So, they're going to be rescued, and this is just Abby to the rescue again, isn't it, next week?
Probably. I'm trying to... how is she going to get them out, though? Because Ray knocked off the handle on the outside, too.
Mm-hmm. I have to question the workmanship in this door because the handle was basically knocked off on
Quite
the inside
easily.
and outside very easily.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ray's a big guy. He works out.
It's like, what do they need to install on the fridge to make sure this doesn't happen again? Because this was the Robert and Michelle sex fridge that they got trapped in.
I'm trying to remember how they weren't able to get out.
There wasn't a handle on the inside, I didn't think. But
there is
they
a handle on
installed
the
one this
inside
time.
now.
Now do they have to install like a little heater or something in the fridge to make sure that if anybody's trapped in over the weekend that they can be kept alive and not suffer from hypothermia? There's enough food there to keep them going. It's a fridge.
Right.
People are cold all the time, aren't they? As long as you've got food and drink. And Kev's got his sandwiches and his thermos flask, I think.
Right, yes.
And luckily,
And
luckily
he's-
was going camping.
Right, yeah. So he's dressed for the elements.
Mm-hmm. He's got
'Cause
his hat
it's
on to keep his heat.
Camping in wintertime.
Yep.
So,
Debbie, not so much.
winter camp.
She's just got
Her
her
little
handbag and
cape
the
thing.
crook of her arm, and that's it.
And her cape thing. Just quite lovely. I kind of like that.
She was dressed very well this week.
I like her
Very
little cape
swish.
coat. Yeah.
She does have a good fashion sense.
Yes, she does.
Was her hair blue? There was a bit
No.
of blue through her hair, I think.
I think that's just the light in the fridge.
I think it was outside. She suits it anyway. That little hint that she's got going through her hair. Don't normally notice things like that. So yeah,
I'm sorry. I just noticed the asses this week.
it was mostly asses. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. And opportunities for cold puns that didn't take for
Right.
whatever reason.
And prisoners not wearing underwear with their hands in their waists.
Right. Yeah. So Ray getting done for bribery. They want him for sexual deviance as well, don't they? Because
I thought he got off of that with the whole he said she said thing.
Or was it just that he got released?
I can't
Was
remember.
he got released because that's why he's running? Oh no, it's the
No, he's
bribery
running
thing
because of the bribery thing, because the video proof. I don't know why he thinks he's going to get out of that or how he can peg that on Debbie when there's video proof of him doing it.
Yeah, he's done. That's him.
Yeah.
He ain't getting out from that.
And also, he's either going to be down for murder or attempted murder, depending upon whether or not Debbie and Kev get out of there.
Let's not pretend that they're not going to get out of there. I think they're
Come on.
safe as houses.
Come on.
I would be shocked.
Double murder.
You would need some kind of 18th century smelling elixir to bring me round if either one of them die.
Especially since we have potentially Peter dying and potentially Johnny dying in the future this year. Who else is potentially going to die? Simon?
I'll be saving them both. It's just going to happen. We might as well make our peace with it.
Sure.
I'd rather she didn't. I'd rather somebody saved them. I like Kev, and I think Debbie's.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't dislike him. I think Debbie's.
I can take him or leave him.
Debbie's proven to be a really
Debbie's
good,
great. I like Debbie.
addition to the
Yeah.
cast, and even though our storyline has been kind of stupidly Machiavellian with
Right.
Ray, and I know a lot of people haven't really enjoyed it. I've quite enjoyed this storyline.
Honestly, I haven't minded it.
I think it's fun.
You know, it is fun. Parts of it are ridiculous.
Most of it.
I still hate the fact that nobody is willing to say that Faye was raped.
Correct. It's still bothering me.
That really, 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 really bothers me. But other than that, I'd rather have this than stupid Peter and stupid Carla. I much prefer Carla in the Johnny storyline than with stupid Peter.
Yeah, I didn't miss not having that this week.
Yeah. I was happy to have a break from stupid Peter. Send your hate mail to.
Yeah, you're just fucking fishing for it at this stage. So that was the week that was Coronation Street.
Yes.
It was decent.
It was all right.
It wasn't as good as last week, but it was good.
It was
fun.
Yeah.
Too much Johnny, but
It's all right.
whatevs.
It's all right.
Your moment of the week.
Dog food.
Really?
Just the faces he was pulling and everything as he's almost eating it. It was delightful and it was funny. And why are you carrying dog food around in your pocket and everything? That gave me the most joy this week. What about you?
Yeah, I'm struggling to think. Some weeks I have, I write them down as they happen. I think, well, that's worth mentioning, rather than me having to cut out 5 minutes of silence as we
Ham and haw.
desperately try and think of something. I didn't write anything down this week, and I was hoping that as I was going through it, something would jump out. And I don't think there really was anything. Kev hitting Ray, the goodness of that was kind of overdone by the stupidity of them going into the fridge.
I have a feeling we'll probably be giving moment of the week to Kev and Debbie next week. So I'm kind of holding it in reserve for them then.
Well, there is an opportunity for them to be the little two-hander where they're reminiscing about their lives or
right,
whatever,
and being introspective about...
And that's always good.
Yeah.
That's good, Corey, when characters do that. So yeah, I'm not I'm not against it. I'm just surprised that that's the first thing that you've picked. But whatever.
I don't think it's going to be a popular choice, but I don't really care.
You see that? I
gave me joy.
I think it's really difficult to gauge what's going to be popular and what's going to be unpopular. There's things that, a lot is up to the gods of Twitter, but there's times when you post things, a moment of the week that you think is going to get lots of reaction,
right?
That gets nothing,
right?
And then the opposite happens. You expect this was a kind of throwaway moment of the week, but it gets a lot of people buying into it. I don't know. I think it's impossible to second guess it. Anyway, David, about to eat dog food is our
moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Your boring moment of the week.
Steve shaking the router.
Steve shaking the router. That was hilarious.
It was. That whole thing was ridiculous.
It's boring. We're looking for the boring moment of the week.
It is boring because it was so unnecessary because they could just log on to the auction house on their phones. And the whole acting like Gen Xers don't know how to use technology. They're not boomers, for Christ's sake. This isn't Ken and Audrey trying to use hotspots. You and I know how to use a hotspot.
I would have to think about it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't do it often enough. I have no need to.
You just flip a switch on your phone.
But why would I need to? So I think that my boring moment of the week is Johnny rhyming off the things that you can see that you can't see. Because he does it all the time and nobody's interested. And I'm certainly not interested. Come on, if you're getting dog food.
Then you can get an imaginary cat.
Thank you very much. That's our
Boring moment of the week.
A boring moment of the week.
Shall we wrap this one up then? Package it up and send it off to the Library of Congress.
Sure.
How many times did you wonder during Monday's break why no one on the street seemed to have a data plan on their phone, only to find out that everyone has a data plan on their phone? Send your bid to us and the winner gets a data. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com, which is also our address on Skype for voicemail and on PayPal if you want to chuck a couple of bucks into our virtual tip jar. We are at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Please check out our merch store and YouTube channel, links to which you can find out on our Twitter bio or on the other stuff page of the talk of the street.podbean.com. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
A talk of the street.
Talk of the Street. Cheerio.